What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Dog Central YouTube podcast video channel. Today, I am joined by Mr. Pencil Talk himself. You, sir, are becoming the voice of college baseball. Mr. Jack, I call you Jack D, but pronounce your last name properly so I don't push it.
Jack D plays well. I've considered going the Ocho Cinco route. I'm just going with Jack Pencil, but for another day. Delongchamps, spelled champs, so I would never correct anybody because that's way cool.
That's okay. Yeah, Delongchamp. In the South here, we might call you, Delongchamps.
Exactly.
But either way, sir, you are doing a wonderful job with Pencil Talk Pod. We are here with our mutual partners, friends, Home Field Apparel, hanging out in Athens. You've got UGA apparel shirt on. I'm wearing one for the home team, as I always do. Pretty soon, we're going to have some new Georgia baseball apparel to check out. One of the first Feed the Trees shirt hitting the market. And you know what? Home Field is doing so great that we don't even give out discount codes for Home Field anymore. You just go and buy their stuff at full price and enjoy it because it's worth it. And they are very good to us. So, Jack, you just spent an afternoon with Wes Johnson and the Georgia Bulldogs over at Foley Field. You go all over the country. You were just in Austin for the Texas Lone Star State Showdown, Texas A&M. What is the vibe? What do you notice first impression when you walk into Foley Field for a Georgia Bulldogs batting practice?
Oh, man, it's a great question. I think what's really stood out, dude, those renovations are gorgeous, huh?
Yeah, totally.
It's great, and how fast it happened. And I think that's really what stood out first. From an aesthetic standpoint, having not been here since I played here at Charleston Southern back in 2017, we got beat by 15 runs, but you're in awe, right? You're in this SEC venue, and it's just awesome. What they have done in little less than a year, dude, Foley is a cathedral. I mean, state-of-the-art renovations, and I think what's been really cool to see, what Wes and his staff has done, they have come in and have expected greatness. Yeah, and with these renovations, it has kind of matched the method that he delivers to his team. So when you ask, what do I see at a practice? I see a team bought in. It's run like a big league practice. Pitchers are getting their work in. Players are bought in the cages, and they're working on outside individual stuff leading into it. It feels like a pros pro environment, and that pretty much matches the gorgeous venue.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. SEC baseball is kind of an animal of its own, as you know. And then, previously there were kind of these big programs in other conferences that sort of, there's one or two in the ACC, or there was Texas and Oklahoma in the Big 12, right, where they took this thing really seriously. It's always felt like Georgia baseball, by national standards, Foley Field's a big venue. They draw good crowds. By SEC standards, maybe not as kind of, not an LSU or a Mississippi State or any of that. But what they've done out there in right field, I think if you want to come and imbibe, you can do that now in right field, or you can come and have a nice family day at the ballpark. So it seems like crowd-wise, I don't know this for a fact. We're sitting here with a couple of weeks left in the regular season, but I think they're probably tracking for some attendance records. And everyone loves a winner, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the big thing. Wes Johnson coming in here off of the College World Series win at LSU and really has kind of invigorated things. What are you most impressed with in terms of his kind of build here in Athens when it comes to whether that's roster construction? You just mentioned practice, but it seems like Georgia kind of woke up overnight. It hasn't really been this slow burn thing. Last year, you were a game away from going to Omaha, and prior to that, it had been a little while since they'd been in kind of a competitive spot like that. So how did they do this so quickly?
I think that is the perfect way to lay it out, right? We live in a microwave society right now. Yeah. Every fan base, and it's not just the fans, the coaches, the players want it too. They want it instantaneously. So to do it this quick, I understand that it happens, is so insanely difficult, right? This is not normal. My first really year of kind of almost discovering this concept with Pencil Talk covering college baseball was the year that LSU won the national championship. They welcomed me with open arms. I had covered my alma mater, George Mason, in a regional. I had chased Wake Forest throughout. When I got to Omaha, there wasn't a ton of coverage, to be frank.
Yeah.
A lot of great beat reporters, but like I got to Omaha, I was like, I thought there'd be flooded media rooms and there's a lot of open chairs. What LSU brought was different. Like all of a sudden they walk in, then the media room's packed. It was nuts. So what Wes was able to take from that year and the way that they treated me, I remember thinking, this is a college baseball blue blood, and they're treating me like I'm family. He's done that almost immediately in Athens. And I think what we saw last year, to your point, everybody loves a winner.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a Charlie Condon, it's easy to press that button on social media in our case and go, watch this go viral. That guy quite literally had one of the greatest seasons in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
But when you watched what Wes was doing, he was creating a family and a culture around it. It wasn't just Charlie. They had created a 1 through 9 really deep lineup. And when you look at this team and what he did in the portal immediately, he went and got really talented ball players. Right. But they weren't just talented ball players. They were guys that fit his build. They had to be his kind of guy. Right. Look, Brian Curley's probably the perfect example, and not just because he's had the perfect season and you've seen him go viral on social media for bopping and singing to himself on the mound.
Absolutely.
It is this idea that this guy was drafted last year out of VCU in the A-10 to go play in the 16th round for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He wanted to come to Georgia. He wanted to learn how to better himself. The analytics, the pitching lab, all of those metrics that I won't bore you with today. Curley understood that a year at the University of Georgia, 2 years, was going to make him not only a better person, but a better player. I think that's what's been so impressive what Wes Johnson did, right? Hey, I'm going to go get a stud out of the portal like a Devin Ovi.
Sure.
But I'm also going to see the likes of a Zabo and go, I see what others don't, because he'll thrive in our culture and family environment. I think that's why it's happened as quickly as it has.
Well, so I'm curious. That's it. You bring up an interesting. Obviously, we talk a lot about college football here. The Kirby is king of Athens in many ways, and you are a guy who understands college football. We've talked a lot. You get that kind of culturally, but what Georgia football has done in many ways is like they've distinguished themselves as probably the premier developmental program in college football. And if you come here and you stay here, there's a very good chance that you're going to get drafted. Is the language you're using around Georgia baseball feels very similar to that to me? Is that a fair thing to say?
So this stadium tour concept and the dream, right? Like a Marty Smith in football, using NASCAR as a trampoline to tell stories in all sports. I love college baseball. I want to tell college baseball stories forever, but I'd love to tell those other stories.
Sure.
So college game day for college baseball is something that I've been trying to develop and improve. And in that, you start to see a lot of these stadiums, right? And you see the tech behind the scenes. Walking through Foley Field yesterday, it's not just the eye-catching aesthetic. The tech that these guys are using is rare in minor league baseball.
Really? Okay.
So these dudes are going in and learning not only, right, how 95. Well, to jump from 95 to 96, 97 is monstrous.
Can give you a career.
Gives you a paycheck in a career, right? Yeah. You go from just a job to, you're looking at 5 to 10 years in the big leagues. I think what these guys are noticing is, all right, cool. I can go play minor league baseball. I can start this dream and start chasing it really aggressively, or I can refine this skill and go and use some of the best technology that you're only seeing at premier SEC venues. You're seeing in the big leagues. You're learning how the body works, like the kinetics of it, and chain of energy is something that they kept using. The word that stuck out to me was competitive intelligence.
Oh,
it's something that Wes had said, and I was like, scratch your head and you think about it for a second, and you're going, I think that's their competitive advantage in a way, where these guys are coming in and not only becoming really good ballparks and really awesome people, which I know sounds like cliche coach speak, but they are legitimately bettering their future every day they spend under his tutelage.
Okay, this is interesting because there are some parallels there. I won't follow that rabbit hole too far, but
we could easily, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's exciting, I think, as a fan. It's got.
It is, and I think for Georgia folks, football season is really the shortest season of any major sport, right? Yep. And I think that people are very hungry to see other sports be successful here in Athens. There's plenty of non-revenue sports in Georgia that are great. They just won, national titles and other equestrian and things like that. But you look at what's been interesting as a content creator and publisher is to see just how much interest there is in Georgia baseball right now. And in some ways it outpaces Georgia basketball at times. And I think that's a super exciting thing because you are kind of laying the groundwork with some consistency to build over the long haul and create not just a culture as a team, but a fan culture, right? So looking at the sport right now, you were kind of on the tail end as a player of this portal, or the beginning end. The tail end of your career is sort of the portal NIL era is just ramping up, right? For Georgia, there's so many players in the portal, and they go, and you've got to replace Charlie Condon and all those home runs, this historic kind of output that he created. Is it fair to say that they went out and getting guys like Zaborowski, keeping Slade Alford here? You get Robbie Burnett, who's sitting with 18 home runs as you and I sit here in late April. Like, they've got 5 guys in this lineup with 10 home runs. They've got a 6th with 9. How big was that? I mean, not big, but I guess my question for you is really like, how hard is that to do? To go and evaluate all these players and kind of pick the right ones? Because I would imagine, like every sport in college right now, that there are thousands and thousands that you have to sift through. Like, what are the traits that you go out looking for if you're a Wes Johnson that kind of allows you to bring these guys in and know that they're going to be able to get some output in the SEC?
Yeah, it is late April, and even that 6th guy you mentioned with 9, he's done it in 72 at bat.
I was saying, he's not even qualified for certain statistics because he has not been up for 2/3 of the
right. It's insane. So I think what's so interesting and fascinating is you lose a Charlie Condon. Oh, sorry, Preacher Comfort Beers almost spilled it, didn't do it. Too yummy to spill. That's right. I get so excited talking about this because it's this idea that you lose a Charlie Condon, but to me, the writing was on the wall. Like you said it early on in this podcast, winning helps, right? Winning will fill seats, but what they are building is far more than just winning, right? Like they are trying to create a standard. So when you have guys, right, to your point, that have 9 homers and 72 at-bats, and I've got dudes that are filling up box scores and feeding the trees, if you will, shout out to home field. It is far greater than that. So you are kind of like what you're seeing in Austin right now, the number 1 team in Texas, Jim Schlossnagle, 19-2. It's a historic run. This is the first year.
Right.
Next year, it's going to be his crop of guys.
That's the test in many ways, is it not?
Wes Johnson in his 2nd year, this is a more talented roster. I don't know if they'll exceed expectations like they did a year ago.
Sure.
It's more talented, like straight up. So he's got such an eye of going, because of all of the technology that we talked about, he goes, if I take this kid from this spot, right? Like a Noel McCarthy from Kentucky, right? Saw that guy in conference. How do you get that guy to leave a place that he loves and to come to Athens and go, we can tinker with a thing or two and you're going to see your numbers. It's that piece of the puzzle. Right? That's probably half of it. The other half is he going to make our locker room better? What are his teammates saying about him? What did his travel coach at 16-year-old say? And if you're out there listening and you want to play college baseball, college football, like it really far exceeds sports in general, like they're going to go and chase it. They're going to talk to your hitting coach at 13 to find out like what kind of dude you are. And I think that is probably the biggest piece of the puzzle, where a guy like Brock Bennett, that everyone knows he and his family well on social media, it was why he was that leftover piece from that last coaching staff. He was crucial to understanding the fabric of Georgia baseball. And that's when they go in the recruiting, piece. And to your question, like what are they looking for?
Yeah.
Brock Bennett understands what it means to play Georgia baseball, and they want the guy that needs everything. We'll worry about the talent later. We'll tinker with it. We'll make sure that we maximize your ability as a player. They want the dudes that like are proud to play.
what's the do you go and see all these teams? Like, is there kind of a chemistry and a vibe that is going on there right now? I mean, I know that Georgia, they kind of have been in this cold stretch here the last couple of weeks, but they get series win last weekend against Oklahoma after dropping the first game. Before that, I think they had lost maybe 9 of 11, but they took a series from Arkansas when they were number 1 in the country. So it's like we've seen them sort of show this high ceiling. What's the energy? What's the vibe? You've gotten some access here that few do around the team.
There's remember early on in the season, like a month or two in, people were probably still in the midst of college basketball. They won a lot of games against a lot of mid-major programs by like a run or two.
Sure.
But what you don't see in that box score is that they're down like 6 or 7 runs in those contests. And they never flinch at all. And that says a lot, where a pundit could easily pick out, well, Georgia didn't look great in that midweek against Kennesaw. They kind of struggled.
Sure.
Did they win though? Like, who cares? I think what is, from a foreshadowing standpoint, like they've played in so many tight games, but they found a way to win it. You mentioned that cold spell. Going to Vanderbilt, it is really hard to win in the SEC. Just like in the fall, when your team goes on the road and might struggle with a lesser opponent.
Right.
Really hard to win on the road. To me, talking with him yesterday, and we dropped some videos of talking like walk-up songs and some teammate questionnaire, almost Family Feud style.
Right.
What was very evident is that they're having a blast. Which I know is.
No, that matters.
You know what I mean? Well, it's also like, all right, I'm only with them a day. Like, they should be putting on a show. We sat there for like 2-3 hours.
Yeah, you were there a long time this year.
Yeah, we were supposed to be up for dinner. I delayed everything. We were just shooting, and it felt like, man, like they're just. I heard it twice. It just feels like we're playing wiffle ball, on a Saturday afternoon, and that's pretty dang cool.
That is cool. Do you look at Georgia's pitching? You made a comment to me yesterday about kind of the number of guys that have pitched 10 plus innings maybe, or are getting work week in, week out. And is it fair to say that like Wes, maybe kind of puppet mastering this thing a little bit, or playing some 3D chess and trying to bank some reps for these guys before you get into big moments down the stretch? Or, how do you interpret the way that Georgia's used their pitching set?
We asked a lot of questions early on in the season where, Wes Johnson is one of the few head coaches in college baseball that also handles the pitching coach duties. So think of your favorite football team in the fall. How many coaches are also taking on the play calling? It's different, and it's probably a little bit difficult, whereas some head coaches just like to play chess from afar, and it's strategic instead of hands-on. Wes is different. Like, he loves the minutia of it. And that's, like, to your point, recruits are really excited for that. Early on in the season, even myself was looking at it going, man, they're using a lot of different dudes. Who's going to be the guy that steps up? When in reality, in the SEC, it doesn't matter. You win 13, 14 games in SEC play, you're going to the tournament. Everything else doesn't matter because it's just that difficult to win in this league. Sure. So to answer your question, I think it was strategic. They have 10 guys that have thrown 10 or more innings in the SEC. No one else in the league is even close to that. So other guys might have, big name stardom horses on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They went all season long kind of playing with Brian Curley in a closer role, in a setup role. Now he's a starter, and he's an animale, right? Like, I don't want to face that guy. I'm terrified getting in the box against him.
Sure.
Davis, like, the list goes on and on. They have, I think, tested their guys. They wanted to see how they would thrive in uncomfortable positions potentially, or where they thrive best. Because when you get to, a potential super regional, who are you going to be able to throw in that third, fourth, fifth game when depth is at an all-time premium?
Right. Well, and it seems like Georgia ran into that a little bit last year. You get to game 3 against NC State, and, Brian Zeldin had already pitched a lot of innings in that series, and he was pitching a lot. And, it's just kind of it's tough because these guys that you're playing at that phase of the season, they can hit, right? And so you got to pitch around, 4 or 5 batters maybe in an inning. There's not too many 1, 2, 3 innings when you get to the May and June in college baseball. So, All right. You, much to the chagrin of many, I believe you picked Georgia to win the College World Series back in what, March, February?
January.
Before
we started.
Okay, before we started. So we're sitting here April 29th. Does Georgia go to Omaha? Call your shot.
Should I lay it? I can't.
Lay it out. No, please.
Fade myself.
Give me the whole scenario.
I think a lot of it comes down to seeding. So, like when you look at last year, NC State was a really tough matchup for them. I'd said when NC State had gotten there to Omaha, I thought they were going to win the dang thing.
Yeah,
like they had the storyline. If you remember, they were kind of robbed in that COVID year.
Mm-hmm.
Those freshmen that were on that COVID year were seniors last year. The narrative all lined up, but for an actual baseball standpoint, I thought they had the best bullpen rotation duo in the entire World Series. Pair that with a team that left the yard at free will and that obviously feed the trees offense. Sure. It was just a tough matchup. So if you're asking me today, how good do I feel? I feel good. Bulldog Nation. I think especially too as these arms, you start to fun a little bit, like who is going to be your go-to Friday, Saturday piece. It looks like the blueprint is laid out for them a little bit of how they want to go and attack a Friday bullpen rotation. And I think that pays dividends. So yeah, they go back there.
Awesome.
First time since what, 08?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. 08. I was the summer after my freshman year of college. I spent the super regional against NC State, actually, out in the right field in some houses. I remember some of it. Yes. Okay. Jack, you do a wonderful job. I really sincerely mean that. Like college baseball needs a voice, and I think you're quickly becoming that voice. So please tell everybody where they can find your content.
That's far too kind, man. There's a lot of really awesome people doing it. Like 11.7, they're the best in the business. It's been really fun to learn from not only guys like them, but yourself too. Like social media is a foreign space for me. So your words mean more than you know. But Jack Delongchamps, Pencil Talk, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of it, all streaming platforms as well. We get the opportunity and beyond blessed to do so to interview Golden Spikes, potential candidates, which is the Heisman Trophy, basically the college baseball, trying to bring more awareness to that award. And then obviously coaches and players and like takeover weeks like we're doing with Georgia this week. So I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Jack D, let's go watch
baseball. Home field. Feed the trees, folks. Feed them.
That's right.